Hello and welcome to Gin and Cake. Hello, Joel.
Hello, Sharon.
How are you this evening?
I am just dandy. How are you?
I'm good. I am ready to talk about continental cake.
I love cake.
Do you?
I do. I rarely have it, but I do love it when it's made for me.
It's kind of the best way to get cake, right? Someone else makes the cake for you.
Yeah. I think I've only attempted to make one kind of cake, and that's chocolate chip pound cake, and I can actually do a halfway decent job with that.
I want to eat that, Joel. Why haven't you made me one?
Because I'm lazy.
Oh, right.
At least when it comes to that stuff.
I haven't made a lot of cakes. My mother's specialty, well, not specialty, well, maybe a specialty, it's called Harvey Wallbanger cake.
Oh, I only know that as a drink.
It is, in fact, based on the drink, and apparently it was very, very popular to have boozy cakes in the late 60s and 70s.
Well, because they were cool back then.
They were so cool with their...
And also alcoholic.
You got to get through a key party somehow.
You're not wrong.
We used to get pieces of this cake as kids, and yeah, it's boozy. And sure, theoretically, the alcohol's cooked out in that glaze, but that's a big lie. That's a big lie. That's a good cake. It's a lovely bundt, as all cake should be. Although, I will say that my favorite cake I ever made was for my friend's baby gender reveal party.
Oh, and how did that go?
It was great. I got the picture from the sonogram from her doctor that she had not opened, so I knew it happened to be a girl. Hi. So I got to make a pink cake, and it was really fun.
Okay, so you indicated the gender via color and not via shape.
Okay, yeah, no, that's gross, dude.
Is it? Hey, there are many ways to convey this information, and there should never be body shame even with cake.
Fair enough, but no, it's done by color, just for your future reference if anyone ever asks you to do this.
Boring.
And I was so glad because referencing back to our blue food conversation, I didn't really know how to make a blue cake without just huge whoppings of food coloring, which would have tasted so gross.
Yeah.
So lucked out with a girl. Strawberry cake. It was good. But anyway, so that's my cake story. It's either boozy or strawberry. I can do that.
All right. Well, that's good and good.
Mm-hmm.
Well, how about we dive into some continental cakes?
I think we should, Joel. I've got my show queued up here.
I'm all ready to go.
And once again, for our listeners, Joel and I are using the Amazon version of the Great British Baking Show Season 1. And we are skipping past the PBS logo because it freaks Joel out. He doesn't like the face.
Yeah, it's nightmare fuel.
I am, in fact, starting on second 06. This is 06.
I'm right there with you.
All right, and we're going to hit play in ready, set, play.
Done.
And once again, we're going straight to the theme music. I don't know what happened to Mel and Sue's fun intros. This is the second one in a row.
Yeah, there's no Diana reason this week.
No, I mean, it made sense last week, but I feel like maybe the show ran long and they chopped it off. I bet they filmed one and then they just chop it off for time.
Yeah, because it is a 52-minute episode, even without that intro.
Which, yeah, for BBC is about right. So we are doing Continental Cake Week, which for people who follow the show, generally speaking, the themes of the weeks are the same, but at least once in the show, and sometimes twice, they throw in sort of an optional theme. So in other seasons, it's been Victorian cooking or gluten-free baking. But in this particular season, the choice is continental cakes, things from Europe.
So nothing islandy.
Well, does it count?
Well, and so what counts as an island if you're dealing with the continent?
Now that you say that, I realize that everyone did in fact draw from the continent, not from. There's no Irish cakes in here, and certainly no British cakes. So maybe they are limiting it to mainland Europe. I don't know. We're going to pretend that they are because that makes sense.
Okay. Now, one of the stipulations here is that they have to bake with yeast instead of baking powder. And I, not being a baker myself, do not know why that would be a challenge or why why wouldn't?
Yeast is much, much harder to control.
Okay.
And so, of course, here what Mary and Paul are talking about is timing, because you have to let yeast rise as opposed to baking powder or baking soda, which just automatically reacts chemically in the oven. Doesn't require any time at all.
Okay.
So they're going back to what was the original old way of rising anything, which is yeast.
Okay.
But it can't taste like bread. It has to be cake,
Hmm.
which is just a very different texture, what they would call a short texture, crumbly.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I did have a question about that. So shortbread is shortbread cookies. That's just crumbly and not spongy.
Not chewy.
Okay.
Yeah. So exactly correct.
And now Kugelhopf came up.
Yeah.
And I seem to remember that Kugels have a particular mold. Is that part of it, or am I just remembering something else?
I couldn't tell you. I mean,
Okay.
everyone seems to be cooking in a mold of one kind or another. Here's Chetna. She's making a savarin, which is a ring cake.
Okay.
But yeah, the Kugelhof mold is very pretty. I mean, very solid looking, but it has no hole in the middle. It's a cake.
Well, and Mel just compared that to a piles cushion, which I think Mary was genuinely not happy with that remark.
Yeah, well, you're trying to make something nice and someone's talking about hemorrhoids. Ew.
Yeah, it's like if somebody says that a gender indicative cake could be shaped in a certain way, and they kind of don't like that either.
Yeah, fair enough, Joel. We're just going to let that slide. I am curious about these themes, though. I wonder how they choose them. Continental Cakes seems so, I don't know, kind of obscure. I wonder how they get there and who has the honor of choosing that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, continental cake, if it is any cake from Europe, wouldn't that be a really broad category?
It's a huge category. Huge. But challenging, I suppose. I don't know. In my dream version of the Bake Off, you'd have like a real challenge, I guess, as opposed to just make cake. Like, make something awesome with World War II rations.
Oh, yeah.
Something cool. Something really hard.
I wonder if that, I mean, because this isn't a show that really goes for gimmicks, and that seems kind of gimmicky, even though it would be pretty neat to see what they came up with.
It is a little gimmicky, you're right. I'm going to cop to that being a gimmick, but it would still be neat. All right, well, when I have control over the show, I'm going to do what I want.
I hope you do. And wow, so Nancy was just referred to as renegade baker.
Well, this is what's so funny. She's saying my European cake's not European. I mean, it's a savarin. It's a round, standard shape. It just has Caribbean flavor.
Mm.
And banana. Oh, yuck.
You don't like bananas?
I like banana bread, but I mean, I'm looking at the banana on her bench there, and that's nowhere near ripe.
Mm.
So she's not really going to get good banana flavor out of it.
Okay.
So, it's just, I mean, when you make banana bread, those bananas should be practically black.
Yeah.
If you want them to taste good.
Yeah. Would there be an advantage to using a not quite ripe banana? Like, would it be a stiffening agent or something like that?
I have no idea why she would. And maybe this is where, we talked last week about the food producers who buy the food. If she didn't specify, I want a super ripe banana, they might just hand you a banana and you just have to deal with it. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And here's Paul looking at Martha like she's completely insane in what she's doing. And I think Martha just confessed that she hasn't really practiced this.
And so what were the specifics of his incredulity with what she's proposing?
Putting a lot of butter into the cake, like after it's risen.
Mm.
The first time, she's putting ingredients in and then rising it again. But the ingredients, like butter, those are heavy ingredients that could stall the second rise.
Okay. So what's going on here?
And here's Kate saying her cake's not even European, which, Kate, you need to learn some history, honey. Babka is absolutely European. It is Eastern European. But possibly, actually, could be Italian too. It has strange origins.
Speaking of origins, I once again tried to find the etymology of proving in proving drawer.
Did you?
And it came up dry.
Really?
Yeah, I cannot find it.
Proving.
There's people suggesting, well, maybe it has to do with yeast and alcohol and the proof of alcohol, but that's not really an answer because where does prove come from?
But nobody seems to know. Oh, I'm fascinated now. Now I really want to know.
Yeah.
And Kate's doing another one of these sort of geometric. You really need to work out the math of the twist kind of breads.
Hmm.
So it has to be cut and then spiraled because you want to expose the interior and make a really cool color and pattern. But that's hard. So she said she learned this when she was in Israel. I think she was working at a kibbutz,
Oh.
which is fascinating.
Oh, wow.
This is why she does not think it's European. But no, you're good, girl. It's all right.
Puts me in mind, I've always got to make a Two Fat Ladies reference.
Go.
Jennifer once mentioned working in Benghazi for the Sultans or something like that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh,
Or at least,
that's
if not
awesome.
working for them, making dinner for them because they were guests of whoever she was working for.
Oh, that is really cool.
And of course, the way she pronounces Benghazi is just wonderful.
Benghazi.
Mm.
Well, good for her. I'm glad somebody had some fun there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah. It was a different time back then.
Indeed. But yeah, you're right. She really did a lot of interesting things. As did Jennifer
Clarissa.
Clarissa.
Yeah, she had a very, very diverse life.
Yeah.
Right up to the end.
Well, as we all should, Joel.
Hear, hear.
Let that be a lesson to you, listeners.
Mm-hmm.
Just work it all the way to the end.
The more you know.
And here they are, making their syrup. So most of these cakes get a syrup bath because they're drier.
Uh-huh. But aren't they supposed to be dry? What about the whole short thing?
Well, but you don't want it to be dry. Do you know what I mean? Shortbread are delicious, but they're full of butter, so they're nice and rich and buttery tasting.
Okay.
You don't want it to taste like sawdust.
Mm.
Plus, anything soaked in alcohol, as we referenced earlier, is delicious.
Nancy there admitting to all the rum she's putting in there. She seemed like half excited, half apologetic.
Well, that's another lesson in life right there.
Yeah.
Martha's making a little brittle. Earlier, Richard made the huge mistake of confessing to Paul's face that he was winging it.
Mm. Seems out of character for him because he's usually so precise and practiced.
I agree. Makes me wonder if he had a time crunch week and just decided to do what he needed to do here and hope for the best. But I wouldn't tell them that I was doing that. They don't need to know.
Yeah. Because then you create a psychology there that's not going to help you.
No, exactly. They're already going in thinking you've screwed up.
And Mel and Sue do a huge amount of accents in this episode.
I know.
And they all sound authentic to me, but my American ears can't really discern.
I'm going to say authentic in sort of a Eurovision way.
Okay. Yeah.
Have you ever watched that show?
I have, thanks to our friend Scott, who showed it to me, and it is an experience.
Everyone should follow Eurovision. It usually shows up on YouTube shortly after the episodes premiere in Europe. And for those who don't know, it's a singing contest.
Is it ever?
In which each country puts forward a contestant and an original song, and they just keep singing their little hearts out week after week to see who wins. But it's the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how to describe it. You just kind of have to watch and listen.
Yeah, if you combine like a drag queen competition with a folk festival
with a little dash of Cirque du Soleil.
And an 80s pop concert.
Yeah, some crack cocaine.
So Eurovision.
It's a complex tapestry.
Well, yes, as Europe is itself.
Yeah.
Oh, and here they are coming out of their mold and looking beautiful.
There's the butt cake.
So pretty.
Now, see, Kate's mold is what my brain is remembering of Kugel cakes that I've seen in the past.
I'm not sure I've ever had one.
Yeah, my mother used to make them, I think.
Neat.
It's going back quite a ways.
Chetna's looks good, but it's sinking. And I am going to take that back. They all have a hole in the middle. They are some kind of bunt.
Okay.
And Nancy's came out looking terrible.
Well, how can you tell? Because it looks like a cake to me.
It's sunk. It's not puffy. So it has
okay.
a huge, like, half moon shape on the bottom of it. You can't see it when she turned it upside down, but yeah, it was not a good cake. And Chetna needs to stop putting liquid in right now because her cake is literally sinking under the weight of it. Oh, but Martha's looks beautiful.
I think Chetna did not appreciate Sue's comment that part of it was collapsing.
No,
She's like,
really
yeah,
having
I know.
Yeah, you can move on now.
Yeah.
Not helping me. And can we just say, once again, Louie's looks beautiful and Nancy's looks like a tragic Cinco de Mayo centerpiece.
Yeah, so unusual for her.
It is. What was she thinking?
I don't know. Depth of field porn.
Yay!
Woohoo.
Shiny, glossy.
Beautiful. That's a nice shot. So circular and centered.
That thing is gorgeous.
It really is.
Spectacular work, as always. Oh, and look at it. See, it looks like cake, not bread. There you go, Paul.
There's the definition of short.
Yes.
Not chewy.
Not chewy. Crumbly and delicious. Now here's Kate's. She made a beautiful babka.
Yes. Oh, nice garnish with the white chocolate covered cherries there. I assume that's what that is.
They are, in fact. Oh, it's just a good design. And here's Mary loving it. And Paul not so much loving it.
Well, this is an episode where he and Mary will almost come to blows. Off camera, unfortunately.
Shocking.
Well, they say that it kind of is shocking because they're usually on the same page, although I guess that's true. Their disagreements are pretty minor, or at least that's what we've seen so far.
In that particular instance, they were definitely disagreeing, and it is quite rare, I think. Usually even though Mary is the complimentary one, in general, they're not usually different about things that didn't work. So here's Chetna's, which sank tragically.
Yeah.
But
flavor's there, yeah.
It tastes great. Everything's right. I mean, all that happened is she put too much liquid in too soon. But,
well, at least she didn't throw it in the bin, Ian.
Oh, Ian.
He could have still been on the show.
I know, right? Now here's Richard's. He put a glaze on it that ended up cracking.
So why would that happen? Just overbaked?
I don't know why that happens. I've never had that happen before, so I'm not sure what would cause that. He might have put it on almost, maybe when he put the glaze on, the glaze was too cool. I'm not sure. I don't know the chemistry of that.
Okay.
They didn't really like that, though. They were not fond. And here's Nancy's, which just looks...
I think it looks cute.
Really?
Yeah.
It looks like a child's birthday party. Well, I mean, it's so not Nancy. And busted the minute they cut into it.
Well, Mary described it as a bit 70s.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not a bad thing.
And here we are, right back to Harvey Wallbanger cakes and alcohol. Yeah. Yeah, so not a lot of banana. Nancy knows it was crap.
Yeah. Well, at one point she said it would help to just throw it on the floor.
Well, or the bin. No.
Not the bin.
Now, Martha's looks delightful. I mean, really beautiful. And for her to, she said she had absolutely no idea what this was supposed to look like. She hadn't practiced it. She's been doing schoolwork, I'm going to assume. She just winged it.
Yeah. Wisely, though, she did not tell Paul and Mary that she winged it until well after the fact.
Never tell someone you're winging it. Never. Yeah. Martha's like, I skated. Yeah. Chetna, pretty pleased with herself.
Yeah. Now, I was wondering, has there ever been a baking show where instead of individuals cooking or baking, it was couples or teams or something like that?
I don't know. I mean, there's lots of sort of competition shows on, I guess it's called food TV now.
Yeah.
But I never watch any of them, so I don't know. The few I've seen have always been so annoying. I just turn them off.
Mm. Far too much ego for cooking.
I'm sure there are because there are so many cooking competitions now.
Yeah. And they have to come up with something new.
Something. And I love what Kate said during those little interviews where she said, she likes getting the criticism because it's good for you.
Yes.
Very generous and positive attitude.
Very mature attitude. Yep.
Yeah, I agree. And it's funny, in that one shot, did you see how empty the tent gets?
I have that as a note later on, where that's the first time I became aware of just how much space there seems to be there now.
Yeah, when they start taking those benches out, they just slowly disappear. But they leave a few spares in, I've noticed, where suddenly people are like laying their stuff on these extra benches, which is great. But yeah, that's a big tent when you start taking people out of it. And here's the technical challenge, which is the princess cake, which is Swedish, which you can get at IKEA.
Really?
Along with your floons and your meatballs.
I would like to try that because, it looks so delicious.
They're like little tiny ones at IKEA, and I'm sure they're horrible because they're all mass-produced.
Oh. Bah. Okay.
When you hear the steps, 14 steps to this insane thing, and they get 2 hours and 15 minutes.
And they get into a frenzy trying to get this done.
Oh. Let's pretend every step's equal. That's less than 10 minutes a step.
Yeah.
To make a cake with, multiple layers, 25 different ingredients. That's just nuts. I don't know. I know they have a person testing this to decide whether it can be done, but come on.
Yeah, but that does look delightful.
Oh, it's so pretty. It's so Swedish.
Have you ever attempted anything like that?
No, No way. Look at that thing.
Well, yeah. Have you ever made marzipan?
No. Not really big on, I like almonds, but I've never really had a reason to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't look hard.
I know marzipan is more the American pronunciation, but that's my mother's pronunciation coming through in me.
Oh, yeah.
When we would visit my grandparents in eastern France, marzipan was there were confectionaries all over the town, Haguenau, which is where they lived at the time. And I never did take a liking to it.
No.
No, it was. I think the texture is what put me off.
It's not something I would seek out, certainly. And honestly, you can buy it. Why would you make it if you don't have to? It's just sugar and almonds.
Yeah.
There's no reason to kill yourself to make your own, really. Personally, but and again, they have to make their own. They have to make their own jam.
Yeah.
Make the cake, make the cream, make the patisserie cream.
And so, of course, they have to just know how to do that.
Yeah. All of these, minimal instruction. And this one I'm going to agree with Paul because he called Mary cruel. And I'm thinking, yeah, you know what? Behind all that nice, there's a little bit of
little sadism.
A little bit. Yeah, she's kind of sticking it to him.
What if you've never made jam before? I wouldn't know the first thing to do.
Well, I guess you know how to make jam if you want to be on this show.
Yeah, again, they've gone through some trials to get here.
Yeah, although as this challenge goes on, you can see everyone's jam is a completely different consistency. So if there is a way to make it, some of them definitely don't really know how to do it. But there's Nancy saying, I make a ton of jam, so go her.
Yeah.
And so they're making, I think they said a Genoese sponge, which is an Italian version of a sponge cake.
And how does it differ from sponge?
Part of the ingredients I believe, are cooked. They're heated.
Ah. So does that change the texture of the sponge?
It's a very light sponge. Very, very light. Which is what they want. They want something to rise because it has to be cut in I think it was 3 pieces.
Speaking of jam, have you ever made jam?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. In fact, I will probably be doing it in a few weeks here as the strawberries get better.
Ooh.
I make strawberry balsamic jam.
Oh, my goodness.
I'd give you some, but my husband just pretty much mows through all the jars before you give it to him.
Well, he has an advantage, living with you and all.
Yeah, he's got the proximity to the jam. It's a good jam, though.
Selfish man.
Well, I'll tell you what. If you make me a chocolate chip pound cake, I'll sneak you a jar.
Ooh, you got yourself a deal.
No, strawberry balsamic. It's good.
I don't doubt it.
You know what else is good? Strawberry pepper.
I could see that. I could see that totally.
Yeah. So.
And I think that's what maybe like spiciness and strawberry goes together too.
Very much.
Like chilies and strawberries.
Well, I think all the berries can take a lot.
Yeah.
But soon, too early for strawberries. I mean, they're in the store, but they're not good.
Yeah.
Usually when they're like super cheap and they're trying to get rid of them, that's the time to buy strawberries for jam, everybody.
Okay. One of my favorite childhood memories is strawberry picking.
Really?
Yeah.
And I never went here.
That was a lot of fun. You'd get a little cardboard carrying bucket and go and just pick all you wanted. You could eat as much as you wanted while you were out there too. They were totally fine with that.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Like a kid's dream come true. I remember apple picking.
Oh yeah, we did that too, and I love that probably even more than the strawberry picking.
Me too. My mother used to make apple butter.
Ooh.
Which is highly spiced, sort of an applesauce that cooks down, and would cook down all day. And it was so good.
I'll bet.
My mom kicked butt with the apple butter. She taught me how to can.
Yeah? Oh, neat.
Yeah.
Our friend Jen, who was just in town from Portland, does quite a bit of canning herself.
Yes, she does. And I think there's one place I know of in town, and there might be two. There's sort of canning collectives now. That's become much more popular.
Huh.
Which is great.
Yeah.
I mean, those are... Let's talk about, what the WI was trying to do. Diana's organization was, save those talents and teach them to new generations. And it's fun to do. It really is.
And quite practical.
Well, and then you have strawberry jam in August when there are no strawberries, which is delicious. If it makes it that long and you don't have a husband who eats it all in the first 2 months. So, I love you, honey.
I love him too.
He's nice. Oh, and here they all are freaking out.
Yeah, well, this really is not, this is actually the frenzy of what they're doing and checking the instructions and going back and forth. This reminds me of The Amazing Race, where that happened all the time because they were always given just a constant stream of things to do.
Well, and several people here have had to start over with, I think they had to remake their sponges. They weren't high enough to cut. And, they're trying to figure out, how do we even put this thing together? She's putting her cream on too hot. And Nancy's like, I don't know what's happening. And
so I imagine it mustn't take very long to make a sponge if they had time to make two of them, given how much limited time they had to begin with.
I don't know how long it takes. They don't take long to cook, which is nice. But, when you only have 2 hours, all time is doing anything over again is too much time.
Yeah.
So this is interesting. Mel and Sue, we always see them walk around to the contestants. And in our last episode, we talked about those food producers, those two people who buy all the ingredients. But I also discovered that they cruise the tent themselves. And because they know how to cook, they know what's going wrong. And it's those two food producers who speak to Mel and Sue and tell them who they should go talk to.
Interesting. All right. I like that.
They're kind of designing the drama. Those two producers are really writing the story of what we see here, which is kind of interesting.
It is. It is.
Yeah. It's not like Mel and Sue are just like, we'll just go around and wander around and talk to people. They get some instruction.
And there, Nancy didn't refer to Paul as Paul, just referred to him as the male judge.
What in the world is going on between the two of them?
And I wonder if she really did forget his name, like just in the frenzy of making this ridiculous thing.
Do you think?
Or if she's just making a dig at him.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe, yes, maybe it was just pure forgetfulness that resulted in this ongoing thing that we hear about for multiple episodes. That's so funny. I hadn't thought about that. But yes, the male judge. And
Well, so
yes,
they. Oh, go
what's
ahead.
that?
Go
Oh, I
ahead.
was just noticing that all of Sue's little segues have to do with ABBA,
Oh, yes. Which,
which,
one
yay!
more reason to love her.
I love ABBA. And they're trying to get it together here.
Now, that's a nice dome that Nancy has there.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
And that's just, I guess, how did that happen? Just shaping the sponge properly, layering it properly?
They are using whipped cream,
Mm,
so it has to be pretty stiff whipped cream because it has to hold up to the weight of that marzipan.
mm.
And Kate's just winging it. And, having never worked with marzipan, it looks really difficult. I don't know how you get that curve to be smooth. And so now they're just throwing chocolate on there. Just throw it on. Who cares?
And honestly, a lot of the chocolate piping that they did looks pretty messy to me and not very professional.
Yeah. As technical challenges go, this clearly just really, I just don't think they had enough time. To
Yeah.
me, this would have been a good 3-hour challenge.
Hmm.
I think they all would have done a lot better. Although, there are a couple on the table that look about right.
Yeah. All the roses look really nice.
Yeah.
And is that marzipan too, or not? I missed
Yes.
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. That'd be marzipan.
I like the fact that Mary's lipstick matches her blouse.
Fancy.
I notice these things.
You sure do. I'm like, what's lipstick? What? That really is a pretty rose, though.
Yeah.
But yeah. Here they are cutting into the first one. It's Richard's. It looks sloppy. Sloppy.
Nice layers in there. Like, everything in there just looks really sweet and not healthy and pretty wonderful.
Very princessy.
Hmm.
Here's Martha's looking a little ragged.
Yeah.
But not too bad. She's nice firm layers.
Yep. And the jam is a nice splash of color in there.
Yep. Sorry, I was having a beverage there.
As well you should.
And in honor of Continental Cake, it's French gin and a splash of elderflower concentrate from IKEA, curiously enough.
It sounds like a nice combo.
It's not bad. They say that elderflower syrup is like, I've heard it called like Saint Germain liqueur. Yeah, they are nothing alike, people. Don't buy that for a second.
Okay.
No, and there's Louis, which really did look very pretty.
Yeah. Yeah. The decorations were very tasteful.
Now, Chetna's is not bad for somebody who basically had to start over in the middle.
Yeah, I mean the dome shape is definitely there.
She got it together, and they love it.
Yeah. Now that is very dainty.
So Scandinavian. It's so clean and perfect. I could easily see that on a completely plain pine table. But no, it's just lovely. It looks perfect.
Good. And Nancy looks appropriately pleased with herself.
She does indeed. Yeah, didn't quite hit the green, but that's okay. And look at them. I love how they're crouching down like they're inspecting dogs at the Westminster show.
Yeah. Surprised they don't have magnifying glasses out.
And Kate lost that one.
Ah.
Richard rolling in fifth, not great. Although, as they get fewer and fewer contestants, it's pretty easy to come in last.
That's a good point. Because I was about to say, he's like, last week he did not do well.
Mm-mm.
So far this week, kind of sketchy.
Yeah, pretty sketchy. And yeah, last in the technical, that's never good. But look at Nancy.
Nancy,
Redeemed from her tragic 70s collapsed rum cake.
Yeah. And acknowledging that the morning didn't go so well for her. Although, of course, by morning she means like the previous day or something.
No, it's the same day.
They do 2 challenges in the same day?
They do the signature and the technical in the same day, and then they do the showstopper the next day.
Okay. I thought they were all on separate days. Wow, that's a lot of bacon.
It really is. No, they just shoot on the weekend.
Okay.
We get 2 days, and that's it. Because they have to go back to life.
Yeah.
Here they are, trying to figure out where everyone is. kind of a mixed bag this week. Everyone's sort of been up and down all over the place.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kate and Richard not doing well.
And now they're referencing why things are being, at least one theory why they're so difficult. Here it comes.
An ancient Indian burial site
I
of
know
the
if
tent.
Mary did not miss a beat. She's like, could be.
Sure, why not? And it's showstopper.
So lots of decoration, and caramel is the theme, right?
Yes, they're going to make what's called a dobus tort, which is a Hungarian cake. That's tons and tons of layers, like, a dozen layers, and caramel decorations. And thank goodness it's not raining that day, because you don't want to ever, ever, ever do sugar work on a wet day.
Oh.
It just melts. It won't hold any shape.
Now, what can you tell me about Hungary? Because other than that it's a country that exists, I know basically nothing about it.
Well, I know it's in Eastern Europe. I don't know that much about Hungary. I can't tell you a lot. I can, however, tell you, because I looked it up. The man who invented this thing, Mr. Dobus or Dobush, he had a secret recipe that was so delicious with the chocolate layering and the chocolate cream and the caramel. And on his death, he willed it to what's called the Pastry and Honey Makers Guild. How cute is that?
Oh, there's a guild for that.
Yes. And for some reason, I don't know why pastry and honey makers go together in a guild, but they do.
Yeah, I wonder if they're next door to the Assassin's Guild.
That would be awesome.
They could, trade each other for services.
And what if accidentally they had gotten the recipe? They could kill for that. Mr. Dobus.
Wonder how much killing a scone would get you.
I wouldn't kill anyone for a scone.
No, I would imagine a princess cake would get you, you could take out an entire family.
Possibly. It'd have to be a pretty good cake, though.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what I would kill for in the pastry world.
Man, those contracts would be held right up.
Right? So here we are, and everyone's explaining how they're going to do all their multiple tiers. So people are doing different methods.
Yeah, and Mary, I believe the correct term is gobsmacked at what Richard just said.
Gobsmacked, because he's doing so many layers. And he's doing them all individually. See how he's wiping it out on a piece of parchment?
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, so he's making something fairly giant. And these layers are thin. I mean, thin.
Well, they looked almost pancake-like.
There's that particular cake style's sort of crawled out all over the world. And I think up in Maryland, there's a multi-tiered cake that's like the state cake. But it's like this. It's sort of 12, 15 layers, and people make it at the holidays, and they kind of compete to see who can make the most layers.
I see. Wouldn't mind being a judge in that competition.
Yeah, I would try it. Sure, why not? And now here's Martha using chocolate molds, and I'm kind of surprised that they didn't say anything to her about this, knowing how they feel about sort of things you bought. That seems very unusual to me.
But it's not, a mold, it's just to shape it. It's not like she's buying, what was it that Enwezo...
Oh, he bought fondant, yeah.
Right. She's still making all the food.
I guess.
And, we've seen Nancy use multiple contraptions, the guillotine and...
But she made them all. You know what I mean?
Well, her husband made them. She didn't.
Well, that counts. They're like one, Joel.
Oh, is that what marriage is?
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
Okay. So you didn't make a princess cake, a very complicated thing, but what is the most complicated thing you've ever baked or cooked?
That all-day bûche de Noël's pretty high on the list. That was a complicated thing.
Yeah.
It had, it had the little meringue things and the branches coming out, and it had 2 different fillings and 2 different frostings. It was crazy. That's probably it. And, it had to have cooked meringue and I think it was probably the most complicated thing because it was almost all techniques I had never done before.
Mm-hmm.
They were all new. So that was fun. It was really fun.
Remind me, did you garnish it with like gnomes and trees and other little trinkets?
Little meringue mushrooms and no gnomes. Not like, you mean like the things you buy at the store?
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
I know people do that, but I didn't do that.
Yeah, my mother's Christmas bouche de Noël would have, gnomes sawing logs and doing all these other kind of gnomey things. It was cute.
That's really adorable.
Yeah.
So here's, everyone making 12, 24, how many layers? Martha's making 24 layers of cake. And she's making them all individually. So nobody's like making a cake and trying to saw it here. They're making individual pieces.
Mm-hmm. Some of these look like something you'd get at International House of Pancakes, honestly.
Delicious. There's nothing like, what's that one? The Rudy Tooty Fresh and Fruity or something? It had some horrible name.
I thought it had been outlawed.
I don't know. It should be. I mean, it was basically pancakes with fruit and a whipped cream smile, but it had the worst name ever. And so, yes, everyone's making teeny tiny sponges. And Kate's doing 3. Why, honey? Why?
So 3 layers. Wow, okay. And they only need 2. Is that right? Or was there...
They only needed 2.
Okay.
But as she just said, a 2-tiered cake reminds her of a hat. So she had 3.
Well, I mean, 3 tiers can be a hat too. Certainly if you're at something like Dragon Con, 3 tiers is playing it safe.
Absolutely. If you want to play Abe Lincoln.
Now, spun sugar is going to come into the mix here pretty soon. And
yes.
How do you make spun sugar?
It's just you just melt the sugar. And so as it's cooling, you sort of whip your hand back and forth. And because sugar cools so quickly, it becomes thread-like. It dries as a thread.
Okay.
It's not, that's not hard. I've done that before. That's not too hard. It's easy to burn yourself because
I'll bet.
Molten sugar is like ridiculously hot, but you can do nice shapes. So I can't figure out what his mold is made of here. Richard's making like a little cast bird, and it looks like, is it marzipan? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's not Play-Doh. Or is it?
Well, one would hope not.
Ew, gross. And here's poor Nancy, who's screwed up her chocolate.
Well, and that she says she's not really a chocolate person.
Fair enough.
And Louis going with the detail.
Right? And he's making the most cool thing. He's making a tower out of a sugar strings, basically. And Nancy screwed up her chocolate again.
Yeah, the level of detail that Louis puts into this puts me in mind of the dragon showstopper that he did a few episodes back.
Oh, the cookie.
Yeah,
yes, that was so cool.
Still, I think my favorite of all the showstopper entries. That one.
I agree. I think that was absolutely one of my favorite. And I think we've passed the point where they're panning past Martha and she's putting something in the oven and she's got half a sandwich stuck up under the cabinet on the shelf. Like really? That you even get to stop for lunch? You're just like, here's a sandwich I'm just going to shove on the shelf.
Yeah, they really run them ragged.
She's trying to make nuts and then let the caramel droop into like a long spike.
Yeah.
But it's not working out for her.
And it looks like that caramel just kind of semi-solidified on her. That puts me in mind of a high school story.
Ooh.
In chemistry lab, we were making candy, which is, I think, a pretty common chemistry lab to do.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And a classmate named Jeff had the bright idea to put the still liquid candy into his mouth and swallow it, except it never made it past his teeth. And so his teeth cemented together completely. He could not open his mouth. And this was a morning lab, too.
Oh, my God.
So the teacher said, well, your saliva will eventually dissolve it, but until then, do the best you can.
Why wouldn't you just go in the hall and run the water fountain on you?
Well, I think he tried that and he just couldn't get the water in there enough to really make a difference. So, needless to say, we made fun of him for the entire day.
As you
Oh,
should.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And by the end of it, he was able to kind of pry them apart. I'm sure his mouth was never the same again.
Well, at least you didn't have to call the fire department like they did in Christmas Story, where the kid sticks his tongue to the pole.
That's right. Yeah, there's a frozen pole. Go stick your tongue on it. You'll shoot your eye out, kid.
Oh, and there's Louis, and he's like, it's just terrible. Really, Louis? Really?
What did he think was terrible?
Oh, he just sort of, I don't know, threw up his hands in exasperation, like, I just can't do it anymore.
Perfectionist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And they're all trying to get their stuff on there. Martha's does not look good. And, of course, Louis cleaning his station while everyone else is freaking out because he's done.
I get the feeling that he's kind of sticking it to them by doing that, because he is really adamant about getting that clean as quickly as he can.
That or our buddy Louis with his great attention to details get a touch of the OCD, my man.
Good point.
Yeah. You know, I like to clean things up quickly too, so I feel you, dude. And they're done. And here are their many-tiered cakes. Richard's does not look good. Kate's looks beautiful.
Chetna's looks very lush. There's a lot going on there.
It is so modern. It's like caramel just exploded on that thing.
It's like a Chihuly sculpture.
Kind of, yeah. And here's Nancy's, and it's so pretty and perfect, as always.
Plug for Chihuly. We're lucky enough here in St. Pete to have a Chihuly museum, an entire museum devoted to Chihuly. How many cities can say that?
How did that happen even?
I don't know. It used to be part of the International Museum. It was just an exhibit there, and then it became its own thing.
Strange.
I guess maybe it was a very, very popular exhibit, so they decided to build on that.
Sure, why not? If you could make money, do it.
Sure. Nancy knocked it out of the park again.
And here's so funny. Yeah. Sue asks if she'll call the male judge Paul, and she's like, yeah, he's great. She is, whatever that is between them, she's working it all the way.
Yeah, they have a great rapport.
Yeah, and here's Richard's. Doesn't look too good. Doesn't look beautiful.
It's had a rough episode.
You know, unlike some of the other cakes, he actually put sort of a frosting on the outside, and I don't think it helped him at all.
Yeah.
But he did do beautiful sugar work. Look at his little bird nest. It's so cute.
Sure looks like it would taste great. Oh, but it's dry.
Yeah. Dun, dun, dun. And like on that top one, you know, maybe a contrasting color between the layers would be nicer.
Yeah.
There's just something off about it.
And here, Louis' masterpiece.
Oh, it's so beautiful.
And look, Mary is so pleased with him.
I think Louis really understands the idea of a showstopper.
Yeah.
You know, you really should be putting it out there, and he kind of does every time.
Yeah.
Oh, and they're hacking into it like animals.
It's just tragic. Although, kind of whiffed it on the flavor.
Mm-hmm. Too anonymously sweet. Yeah, well, good to know.
I would imagine if you're working with that much caramel, that's probably an easy line to cross.
I agree. All of them just look tooth-achingly sweet.
Yeah.
And here's Kate's.
That looks really cute to me. I mean, it's all kind of samey the whole way through, but...
I think that's the problem with it. I mean, I agree, it's very modern and fun, but I don't think it's what they wanted. And, so many of the little spiky bits are just completely gone.
Although I guess it's only samey from the outside, because each layer is a different kind of cake. Is that right?
They have different fillings. I'm not sure the sponges are different, but all the fillings are different.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, well, no, there's a chocolate one. Okay. She did. Yeah, she just didn't quite hit the caramel. Probably too much time doing the cake.
Oh, yeah.
And here's Chetna's lunatic. And it's hysterically funny. And here's Mary complimenting the grape idea, which we didn't really talk about, was so fun. She oiled up some grapes and then dipped them into caramel and let it dry and then pulled the grape out. So she would get those little caramel cup things
Okay.
that she then stuck on like some kind of, it's kind of Dalek-y, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Good call. And I would imagine that grape and caramel would pair nicely.
Well, the grape's not in there.
Oh, it's not. Oh,
No,
okay.
she took them all out. They were just molds.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm still sticking by my statement.
Grape and caramel?
Yeah.
You do you, man.
Yeah. Because, like, apple and caramel goes nicely together, so.
Martha's looks just terrible. Everything
Yeah.
about it is awful.
Yeah, it's a mess.
And here's where Mary does hit her for the chess pieces that were just poured molds.
Oh, she does. Okay, I missed that altogether.
Not loving it.
I honestly, Richard used a mold. We've seen people use molds multiple times. They use stencils. They use all kinds of aids like that. I don't see what the problem is.
I think it just doesn't show any creativity to show caramel, pour caramel into a mold. You're not doing anything with it. You're just pouring it in there. And I think that's the criticism here. And we missed the moment where Sue grabbed one of the chess pieces and says, "I love a queen." Love it. Love it, love it, love it. So now they're in the judgment area and they're troubled. They're troubled here, Joel. Having a hard time between Kate and Richard. Kate hit the cake, but didn't hit the caramel. Richard hit the caramel, but not the cake.
Yep. They should just Thunderdome for it again.
I agree with you. Yeah. 2 spatulas enter, 1 spatula leaves.
I want to see Mary and Bungie.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I think she'd kick Paul's ass.
Oh, yeah. Totally agree with you. But I think Mary should just be in charge of Baker Town.
Oh, so she'd be the auntie.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, she could come in on like a huge croissant.
I would love it. I'd watch that movie. And, she's currently unemployed, so let's make it happen.
Yeah.
And see, we just had cows instead of adorable lambs, so we know that there's some turmoil going on.
Oh, yeah. The cows of doom.
The cows of doom. And so here we go. We are about to announce this week's Star Baker. Who will it be? Is it Nancy?
I'm on, what's it, Tinterhooks?
Tenterhooks. I haven't heard that one in a while. Nice.
Thank you. I don't know what it means.
I'm not sure I do either.
All right. I think it's something to do with bated breath.
Ew. Hooks and breath?
Well, but no, baited as in B-A-T-E.
Yeah.
E-D, short for abated, not, fish bait.
Fair enough. I don't know. No, we're going to have to find that out for the next show. What is a tenterhook? Perhaps a listener knows and will tell us.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Like tenter or tinter. I'm not sure what the vowel is there.
It's tenter. T-E-N-T-E-R. I can spell it. I just can't define it.
Okay.
And today's Star Baker is Chetna. Her first time, which is great.
And she seemed really kind of shocked.
Yes. And she, I don't know if we've mentioned her cookbook. It's called The Cardamom Trail.
Oh, neat.
It came out last year.
I think I played a video game called that.
You've died of caramel poisoning.
Yes, a snake got into your cinnamon.
Oh, now I want to make that game immediately. But it was very well reviewed last year. I mean, like I think it was one of the top 10 baking books in Britain last year.
Oh, good for her. Good for her.
People make stuff out of it and then tag her on Twitter, and then she reposts the photos. And some of the stuff looks amazing. So check that out. The Cardamom Trail. Oh, and here are Paul and Mary ramping up the tension, trying to decide who to throw off the show. I mean,
Yeah, this is more like judging review than we've ever gotten from them before.
they just can't decide. And all they've said is they don't agree, but they haven't said which one supports which person, which is interesting. And nobody's going home. This is the
Yay.
makeup week for
Yeah.
Diana's absence.
Which kind of clever of them to postpone it a week. Although I guess maybe not clever, just it worked out that way because they really couldn't come to a decision.
No, and it had to come eventually, but yeah, they couldn't really wait for the semifinal to keep everybody in. You can't
Yeah,
have 2 semifinals, so
Yeah.
both Richard and Kate luck out this week.
So it's the happiest ending possible because no one has to go home.
And there's Paul saying he and Mary had a bit of a tiff.
That's cute.
I'm sure it was very polite and involved teacups,
Yes.
but
God, his eyes are like icy blue and beautiful.
they're beautiful, aren't they? Yeah, Paul's a handsome man.
Yeah.
I'm not even going to pretend it's not true. But yeah, Kate's feeling a little overwhelmed. Richard's feeling lucky to have escaped.
Yeah.
And I heard him when he hugged Paul, saying he would be bringing it next week, back on the horse.
Oh, good. I hope he does.
Yes.
Oh, what's he talking about? I'm happy to have survived another week. Like he's ever been in danger.
He hasn't actually. I think he's probably one of the few in the tent who's really never. He's been middling, and he's been sort of toward the top, but he's never really screwed up yet.
Yeah, I guess he only got Star Baker the one time. Is that right?
Yeah. And so has Nancy's only had it one time.
Yeah.
And it was interesting, we didn't comment about it earlier, but Sue asked Louis who he thought would win, and he said the money was on Nancy.
Huh.
So I don't know if that was just his way of saying, I think she's going to win, or collectively if everybody thought Nancy was going to win. But he called her out. He didn't mention himself or anybody else. He just said, money's on Nancy.
Well, I think of all of them, she seems to be the most confident.
And I think probably the most technically practiced. She knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
I love that, her comment at the end was, it's such fun. For all the stress of it, she's definitely enjoying herself, which I think is great.
It is. That's what it's all about.
And that brings us to the end of episode 6.
And next week, pasties.
I think you mean pastries.
Oh.
Let's just throw a little R in there.
That'll be fun, too.
Oh, this isn't Benny Hill.
Well, I'm sure they have pasties in Britain. Surely, you've been to London.
And I have seen Benny Hill, so yeah, there's a lot of pasties going on.
Wacky Sacks.
Love that show. We used to watch that show all the time as kids.
Oh, me too.
I don't know why my parents let us watch that.
Neither do I. And I remember my parents actually being a little concerned with how much Benny Hill I was watching. But their rule was, well, as long as you do well in school, then I guess it's okay. Because, getting straight A's means you're not being negatively affected by anything you're exposed to on TV.
Maybe that was my parents' theory, too. I don't know. Although, also used to watch, speaking of the 70s, do you remember Love American Style?
I know the title, but I never saw it.
Oh, it wasn't good. But
Okay.
yeah, I'm kind of amazed at the things I used to watch.
Well, there was so little to choose from back then. You kind of had to take what you got.
True. There weren't 400 channels.
Yeah, so this is why Three's Company could be successful. Then again, modern day sitcoms have not improved a whole lot.
Not at all. No. In fact, I think their innuendo is even more boring now. At least they were fun with it.
Yeah, and you got a little Don Knotts every now and again, too.
And then it was Mr. Roper. With that little trip down the Wayback Machine, it's such a 70s day.
Yeah, it really was. Starting with Nancy's little collapse cake.
So I'm going to send everybody out there to find recipes for Harvey Wallbanger cake because it's delicious.
Terrific.
And you want to eat that. You know what?
What's
Maybe
that?
I'll post the recipe.
Oh, even better.
I might post my mother's recipe because everyone should try it. It's delicious. All you need is a bundt pan and the will to get a little boozy.
Yeah, very cool. And in the meantime, I'm going to dig out that chocolate chip pound cake recipe.
All right. Well, before we go, I'll once again remind everyone we're on Twitter at Gin and Cake Pod, P-O-D. Also on Facebook. And if you follow us in either of those places, you'll get some extra stuff, including some links to where you can follow some of the contestants that have been booted off the show, but certainly not booted out of life. They all have kind of interesting lives and follow-ups to their time here, so you might find that enjoyable.
And hopefully Diane's got full senses back by now.
We should find that out because it nags at me.
Yeah, and of course I meant Diana, not Diane.
Well, I hope she's better.
Me too. Oh, well, thank you, Sharon. This was a good pod.
Thank you, Joel. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I certainly did, and I hope you have a delightful evening.
And I hope you do the same.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, everybody. We'll catch you next time.
Bye, everyone.